This one we're going to go ahead and break down Fully Loaded by Trippie Red featuring Future and Lil Baby. Tempo for this one is 90 beats per minute, and the track is produced by Loesoe, Igor, Mamet, Redda, Bacon, and Popcorn, and HNRZHUNTER. So let's start off with the main string section that pretty much is repeated throughout the tracks. On some parts it's reversed, it has some effects on it, but let's just break down those strings. Now the strings in Logic are not the greatest, so I chose my best to pick ones that I felt sound as close as possible to the original track. So here's what I came up with. So for the first set of strings, and I'm using the preset found under Legacy, Jam Pack 1 strings, Bright Arco strings, and then layered with that we have sort of like a pad type of string sound. Just to get some of those mid-tones in there. And for that, I'm using Logic's Alchemy, and I'm using the rich string pad found under strings, large ensemble, and you'll see that in the list over there. Layered with that, we have some staccato strings. And for that, I am using a string set in Logic, Legacy, Jam Pack Symphony strings, and it's called Extra Violin Section 2 Staccato. And then I have this cello over here just hitting on the root note of the track, which is C sharp. Just creates that tension. And for that sound, I am using the preset found under Legacy, Logic Orchestral Cello section. And then we have another sound over here. That sound can be found under Guitar, British Combo, Synth. And that's pretty much what makes up the string section as best we can using Logic stock plugins. So for those strings, you bounce all those strings in place and then reverse it, and you get this section right over here. All right, so I broke it down into two tracks. One is this dry signal that's pan to the right. And then the other signal is drenched out in reverb, pan to the left. And on top of that, we have some effects going on. Now in the original track, it sounds like there's some shaper box happening on the sound to get the pump. So we went ahead and just tried to replicate that using Logic stock plugins, as well as I'm using mobile plugins. We have a channel EQ just to clean it up a bit. We have Logic step effects to give it sort of that gated pumping sound. Then I threw in an instance of duck out to get that pumping sound, set on the pump shape 1 speed quarter notes. And then we have another channel EQ here just to take out some of the top end and low end, just to give it sort of that muffled, darker sound. Next up, we have that classic yeet bell. It's a tubular bell, and I went ahead and sampled that for you in the trendy kit. So if you have the trendy kit, you have that bell right there. And then we layered with that, we have this sound. That's essentially just a square wave oscillator. I'm using Logic's Retro Synth for that sound. And it's just a custom setting I put in here. I'm working with 2 square wave oscillators. I set the voice detuning to 100%, the stereo width to 100%, and pulled up the unison to give you a nice full sound. And for chorus, I pulled up the chorus to about 75% or 79% to give it an even like wider, fuller type of sound. Altogether, that sounds like this. Moving on to the drums. All right, so we have the 808. By the way, this drum kit is using sounds from the Trendy kit. It's basically those drum sounds perfect for this type of music, that rage music, yeet, Trippie Red, that type of style. Let's get back to it. Then we have the clap. You have a counter snare. Then the hi-hat. Then we have the open hat. And then we have this effect over here. It's sort of like a gunshot machine gun effect. And it happens sporadically throughout the track. Moving on. So over here in this section, we get this new sort of weird effects type of sound. And it sounds like this. It happens in the background. Now I bounced that in place because I was using a preset in Logic that sort of changed as it played, so it was weird. So I had to bounce it in place, but this is the setting I was using. I used Logic's Retro Synth, and I'm using the bounce around preset found under Warped Synth. All right, so in this section, the strings flip back to the original, so not the reversed ones. And we get a couple new sounds in here. We get this. So this is pretty much the same sound as before that square wave oscillator we created in Retro Synth, except it's just hitting on the root note at C sharp. And we get this. For this sound, we are using Logic's ES2 synthesizer. And this is just basically a square wave with a sine combined. And you get sort of this plucky, sort of retro gamify type of synth. So these are the settings that I put into ES2, designed it from scratch. And then I went ahead and added in some effects. So I'm going to go ahead and just take all that out here. The first thing I added was this EQ to take out some of that low stuff that I didn't want. Cleans it up. Then added in some reverb. Added in some bit crusher just to give it some texture. And then added another EQ and took out some of the top end here just to clean that up a bit, because it's a little bit more muffled in the track. That's pretty much the track right there. So let's go ahead and take a listen to it from start to finish. A truncated arrangement, if you will, of Fully Loaded by Trippie Red featuring Future and Lil Baby. Let's go. Alright, so right there is the remake to Fully Loaded by Trippie Red featuring Future and Lil Baby. For your Logic users out there, I'm going to go ahead and save this entire session for you, place it as a downloadable link below this video. For those of you who don't use Logic, I got your back as well. I'm going to go export all the MIDI stems, audio stems, and include the drum kit used in this remake as well. You can find that playback down below the like button. If you do have a question on this or just want to chat, let's go and talk in the comment section below. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed this one, and we'll catch you on the next one. Later.